Oh, hey, well, I'm sorry for the late start. We were in executive session, taking care of some things, and time got away from me. My apologies. We will not let that happen at this meeting, and we will try to conduct our affairs in a more efficient and effective manner. So mea culpa to all for our late start. What I'd ask is everyone stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Okay. So, before we get into public comments, I just want to recognize Carl Gilpatrick for returning after a medical absence. It's great to see you, Carl. Thank you for
I was going to for a while there, but I know that I was getting phone calls, and I really appreciate everything. Thank you so much.
Well, we appreciate you, Carl, and thanks for working hard to get back here.
Thank you, I tried.
To be part of our team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Okay, public comments. Is there anyone who has anything they'd like to share with the board? Please come forward, grab a microphone. Not all at once. Okay, so then that brings us to our next item, and that will be committee updates. And I will just go alphabetically and start with audit. Jim?
Yeah, the internal auditors are working right now, and we was actually trading some emails with Harvey today, and we're going to get the other committee members lined in. We're hoping to have that internal audit returned the week before the June 10th meeting to hopefully have that for approval of the full board on June 10th, but it may slip to July depending on if the internal auditors can get the work done.
Depending on their work
Yeah.
schedule. Good. Thank you for that. Okay, communication. Brendan?
Yep, so we have a bunch of things in the works right now. So first item, we are hosting our annual budget community forum next Wednesday. That's May 15th at 7 p.m. in this room. Same process that most people would be familiar with. It'll be a presentation followed by Q&A directly from the audience, so all are encouraged to attend. We'll have a piece in the Cornwall Local this coming week to announce that forum and also to give some information just about the budget itself. We have the budget newsletter, which is an annual thing as well. We're working with Harvey to get out. BOCES is printing that and should be arriving at doorsteps any day now. We also have our first budget video, if those who follow such things, and that's another issue, but we have, you'll be familiar with this annual ritual where we release videos just to explain some concepts of the budget. And first one went out today, so encourage anyone listening to follow our Facebook page. All subsequent videos will be posted there. We'll also make sure that they're sent out through School Messenger and all those other places that you're accustomed to receiving that sort of content. And that's the budget stuff that we're doing. We're also moving forward very closely to close to completion now with some capital project communication support. We're going to have I mentioned this at the previous committee update, two things. One, a large display, I think it's 4 by 8 foot, will be in front of the high school to show an artist rendering of what the multi-sport athletic facility will look like. Looks great. Everybody, I think it'll just be a nice show of the momentum that we have collectively. And we'll also be turning that into smaller pieces that will appear at each school by each entrance. Think of it like a poster on an easel with a trifold, informational trifold, just to say what's been done in phase 1 and what is to come in phase 2, so that everybody who is interested will be able to keep track of the very important work going on with that capital project. And that's it.
Thanks, Brendan. Facilities, Louis.
Thank you. So facilities met last evening. We had a fruitful meeting, a bountiful meeting. We've reinvented an old document that we were working off, a planning document that held our district's facilities list of items that needed attention. And through our last year's facility, or the last, Larry Berger days, we had that list developed into the bond that we have working on right now, and the items that were currently under construction. That list, there was remaining items that evolved into what we call our 422-24 planning document with the consultation with Walter Moran. We added a slew of items to that list that we're currently that the committee is currently going through, and we're hopefully going to whittle that down. We did the high school and the middle school last night. Elementary, DO, and buildings and grounds is upcoming. Hopefully our elementary school principals can make it to hear their firsthand accounts of their buildings and structures. And with the ultimate goal of honing this into potentially a future project. Our next meeting is June 3rd. Certainly it's open to the public. Anybody who wants to attend, help themselves.
Hey, Louis, just to clarify, you said future project, future bond project, capital project?
Yeah, in theory, a future bond capital project is kind of where we're not steering it towards, what we'd like to propose at some point in time.
But that's what the list that you're reviving
Correct.
is focused on.
Akin to what is now currently ongoing, what developed that process is the same process now we're using to develop a future proposal.
Right, got it, thank you. That's awesome. Any questions? Oh, great. Visitation. Richard.
Thank you. Sorry for my voice. A little bit of allergies, so I'll keep this brief. So over the past couple weeks, we did our visitations in all of our schools. As always, they were phenomenal. Going into all the classrooms, it was such a great experience, and I want to thank all the teachers and staff who welcomed us and brought us into their classrooms. I want to thank Bass, John, and Jim for joining me and the committee on these visits. Without you, it wouldn't have been possible. So thank you. I'm looking to schedule a visitation committee meeting in the near future here to go over the report that I'm compiling. And I'm also looking to schedule a meeting with Megan, Terry, and his team following that meeting, just to go over our findings and where to go. But overall, it was a great visit. So thank you.
Good deal. Thank you, Richard. Okay, Policy Committee, Jim.
Thank you. We're working on scheduling what will be our final meeting of the year, and this is something that Terry implemented when he came on board as sort of an ongoing rolling review of all of our policies on a 3-year cycle. That typically means 3 meetings a year at 15 to 20 policies reviewed per meeting. So we've had 2 of those this year, and we are in the process of scheduling the 3rd. Christine wins a gold star for replying. Brendan and Bass, you owe me an email. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. If I could go back to Facilities Committee, because I just want to verify that we have a complement committee now. I know we had some changes earlier in the year. I think Carl is still staying on the sidelines till he gets to be 100% on that. But you have enough members to get this work that you're working on.
The committee has ample support, ample support. Richard attended as a community member for support. Brendan, while didn't attend last night, he's been supplementing Carl's attendance and keeping apprised of what's occurring. So there's certainly enough board members there to support it, as well as district members and community.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
and to verify that Carl he's going to be back on that, but he's back here tonight for the big stuff.
It is solid.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, great. Anybody else? Christian? No? I want to cover two quick things. And maybe I'll ask Terry to quickly talk about the survey that's in process. And then I'll talk about where we are with the strategic planning idea. Terry?
All right, so really exciting. We were able to send out via school messenger the beginning of the opening of the window for the engagement survey that went out to all parents last week, Thursday, I believe. That window is going to stay open until May 17th. That's per the vendor's timeline to make sure that they can do what they need to do to crunch the data and get it back to my team and the board. Our students in grades 3 through 12 will be taking the survey in school. So all of our teachers are working with our administrators to figure out what that looks like at the elementary, middle school, and high school levels. So we'll get great participation there. And then our staff received the links last week as well. So we're excited about that. Per my experience, the vendor is doing a great job of keeping us updated on participation rates so that my team can kind of look to see if there's any extra communication efforts that need to occur at the parent level, staff level, or the student level. So we're excited to get it rocking and rolling, and the QR code made its first appearance at the STEAM Expo, so it's really as easy as carrying your phone around and scanning the QR code, and you can take it right on your device as well.
Great, thank you, Terry. And please, just as a public service announcement, here's a survey. It's only good if we get a high response rate with open and honest feedback. So please, everyone, participate. Your input is invaluable and it's highly encouraged. Bass, you got something to add?
Thanks, John. Yeah, I just want to add to Richard's report on the visitation committee. I participated on one day going to the high school, and I'd like to take this opportunity again to send my kudos to Mr. Serbino, math teacher. We went to his classroom. He was talking about conditional probability in math. And what I really kind of really appreciated, the fact that he talked about the question, put the question, and went through the method of how you solve the question, how you address it, what are the variables. He went through everything and he arrived to the answer. So when he got the answer, he stopped for a moment and said, what does the answer mean? I mean, we all know math can be a very abstract subject, but he kind of explained what does the answer mean to the student, like in plain English, what does this number mean? And this is something great, thank you. That's all I want to say, so kudos to Mr. Serbino.
Fantastic, thank you for that, Bass. And, in honor of Teacher Appreciation Week, which is, I think, going on currently, I think that's a great accolade, and hopefully you can share that with Catherine Wilhelm, and if she's here, and I see John
Perhaps
Hines
his
is-
department chair could pass the message along.
Yeah. No, he is Sabino's the department chair, but that's okay.
Running up the chain.
Yeah. That's- We believe in good two-way communication, up and down, up and down. All right, but thank you for that, Bass, fantastic. All right, so that closed, strategy, where we are. So as everyone knows that we're currently canoodling, thinking about pursuing a strategic plan initiative. I think one way to approach this is to just say, hey, should we do it or not? Another way to do it is to basically arm ourselves with as much good information about pursuing it, to include, the cost of it associated with something like this, at least in the scope that we're envisioning. And so where we are right now is in the process of finalizing a RFP that will go out to 4 vendors that we've identified, and ask for them to get the information back to us, hopefully before the end of the month, so that we can talk about it at our June meeting with more facts and figures to give people a more detailed understanding of not just what's involved, but what the costs associated with something like this might be. I think overall, the benefits of doing it time and time again throughout the year have surfaced to suggest that, yeah, it would really help us. Now that the issue is, can we get everybody behind it before we move forward? So more work on that, and so stay tuned, okay? Okay, so then let's then move to the consent agenda, which is our next item. Is there anyone who has an item that they would like to discuss separately?
Number 4, please.
Number 4, thank you, Jim. Any others? No? All right, so I'm going to change things up a little bit, and I'm going to ask that we pull item number 5 from any consideration this evening. I think we need some more review of that actual document to make sure it's ready for board action. So I ask that we just pull that. And could I have a motion for that? Go for a motion, and we'll do discussion. Second, great. Discussion.
Just briefly, there's nothing that we're going to have a gap on by pausing this and giving it a month to marinate on?
Correct.
We're completely covered?
It's effective July 1. So
Exactly.
we've got 2 meetings between now and then, too.
Okay.
Yeah, there's, okay. Thank you for that, Louis. Important clarification. Any other? So, technically, I guess we don't, because what I'll do now is I'm not going to include it when I cite the motion for discussion. But overall, I want to be above board and let everyone know that we're pulling that item. We're not going to talk about it tonight. So unlike item number 4, which we will talk about tonight, but not as part of the consent agenda, item 5, we're not talking about at all. If that makes sense, Christian. And so could I just get a vote, just for good order's sake, on that? That we had a motion, a second, on item number 5? We're going to remove it. That's the vote.
Vote to remove.
it.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, all in favor, aye, yep. Any opposed, great, thanks. Sorry for that. So then that brings us to items numbers 1, 2, and 3 as part of the consent agenda for this evening. You have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, all right, so those 3 items are approved. Let's go then to item number 4 in the consent agenda, readoption of the student calendar for this year. A motion?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion?
Yeah,
Jim?
Terry, could you give us the 15-second explanation? Because people will ask. People are very in tune to the calendar, and any changes are always asked of me. So if you can give us this 15-second version of what we're doing, that'd be great. Thank you.
Absolutely. So people started asking me about this beginning in February, so there shouldn't be too many that don't know the rationale for this. It's all about how many snow days we actually have throughout the year. I build in a cushion to make sure that we're fully covered for our 180 minimum to secure our full state funding. So we were very, very close, down to the wire. But now that there's nicer weather out, I can officially change the last student day to June 25th, last day for staff, June 26th.
And it was previously the 26th, so that
For students and staff, that's
extra day
correct.
of summer
That's correct.
for the kids. All right. Thank you.
So Terry saw his shadow, is that? And just to confirm, though, that the ceremony, the graduation ceremony remains the 26th, though?
Correct.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion passed. Thank you. So then that takes us to our next item, additional new business, which is our annual budget hearing. Terry, are you going to tee it up, or are we going to have
Turning it right over to Harvey.
Harvey? Mr. Sotland, please.
Good evening. As part of the budget process, one of the requirements that we have to do each year is have what's known as the annual budget hearing. And even though it sounds like it's something that should take place before the board adopts the budget, it doesn't. So what the purpose of this really is once the board does adopt, it's really to have an overview, kind of like a summary fashion of what actually transpired. So as a snapshot, the proposed budget is $90.26 million. That is an increase of about $3 million. Year to year, from this year to next year, it's an increase of 3.46%. In terms of the tax levy is going up to $52.4 million, and the increase is 1.72%. It's important to note that we are staying under the maximum allowable tax levy, which is 3.12. And lastly, as discussed in previous board meetings about the budget, we are going to be increasing the amount of fund balance that we're using to make the budget balance. We're going up to 2.8 and change. So what does the budget look like from the state perspective? And when I say the state perspective, they require us to break the budget down into three components. We have the administrative, the program, and the capital. If you look at the explanations below, you'll see what comprises each one of those. And if you look from year to year, from the proposed budget to the approved budget that we're dealing with right now, you can see the increase and decrease. Biggest part of the increase is going to program, which is what we want. Percentage-wise, it's actually a mirror of what we have this year. Okay? The percentage-wise of what we're spending in each respective area as a percentage of the total budget is the same. It is worth noting that one of the things that played into these percentages, we had an increase in our BOCES capital expenditure of about $125,000 for their capital costs. Had we not had that, that would undoubtedly have gone into program, and that you would have seen an increase in the program percentage and a decrease in the administration. Okay? Can't help that, but it's just worth noting that's what's driving some things here. We also added a couple things this year. So as you know, we start off with the rollover budget, and then depending on where we are with our aid and our funding sources, we can add stuff, or perhaps we might have to take some things off the table. We were fortunate again this year, and we were able to add 4 particular things. The first one was 1 full-time elementary teacher. That was to deal with the enrollment situation that we have at the elementary level and to level things off between the schools. We also have a high school business teacher. We are adding 20 additional seats to the UPK program. That brings us up to 98. And lastly, we are going to be upgrading and replacing the sound system in the high school auditorium. All told, $455,000 and change. So that was kind of like the look at the expenditure side. Let's look at the revenue side. So obviously revenue, the budget has to be paid somewhere. So our budget has to equal our revenues so that it balances. What's comprised of our revenue sources? In the table below, you have the first one there is state aid. Our state aid for next year is $33.6 million, and that's going up about $1.6 million. We have miscellaneous other, almost $1.4 million. It's up almost $200,000. A large piece of that is interest income. The interest rates are huge right now, and we are benefiting from it. Fund balance, as I mentioned before, we are increasing our assigned fund balance to 2.8 and change. Currently, it's 2.5. And lastly, we have an increase in our tax levy of $52.4 million, and that's adding an increase of almost $900,000. So all told, the increase in revenue is going up the same amount as the increase in the budget, as it must. One thing that we have to note is what happens if the budget fails. If the budget fails on the first go, on May 21st, the board has a decision. You can either go immediately to a contingent budget, or you can go up for a revote. And during that revote, it's whatever you want it to be. It can be the same, it could be more, it could be less, okay? But if it fails the second time, you have no choice, no option. It must go to a contingent budget. What is a contingent budget? First of all, under a contingent budget, the tax levy itself cannot increase by 1 penny, okay? So right away, we're going to be losing that increase on the tax levy. The amount that we're talking about here is $902,117. Now, it's worth noting that $902,117, if I go back to the tax levy increase, notice I say $887,117 of an increase. So if I said that we have to pull the increase from the tax levy, we can't increase it, why am I indicating that it has to be a little bit more? And the reason for that is, when we do the calculation, there's actually something known as an administrative cap when you go into a contingent budget. And what it basically means is that our administrative expenses cannot exceed a certain dollar amount. Consequently, we had to bump that up so that we were within that compliant. What would happen? Where would we take this money from? We would have to look at the budget as a whole. It would impact programs across the district. And then lastly, the budget vote is on May 21st at the middle school from 6 to 9. Any questions? Christian?
Does this budget reflect the first responders tax exemption that we passed earlier this year? Is that inside the rollover budget? Because I remember you citing a number for the fiscal impact, and that would apply to this year's tax levy? And is that included in the overall numbers that you presented?
So that doesn't impact us.
Oh, right. You're
Right.
Sorry.
It's, yes.
Thanks, Christian. Brendan?
Thanks, John. Great stuff, Harvey. So I just want to understand some of the contingent budget numbers. So under a contingent budget, proposed budget would have to be reduced by $902,000. So if we go back to the what the additions equal, so the additions this year are $455,000 and change. So
Right.
then it would be the additions plus another $450 of existing programs.
It could. It could be whatever you choose. It doesn't have to be the additions. Perhaps there's something that's,
Right, you could do the additions and take the full from.
right.
But that,
Something
okay,
else.
got it. Yeah, but
Yeah.
but just so, I think that when you explain the idea of like, oh, go back to last year's tax levy,
Right.
people think that it's just removing the things you were gonna add.
Oh,
But it would
truly-
actually cut even further, actually twice
Right.
that
Right.
would be necessary because of all
Right.
of the year-to-year increases.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Christian?
Christian, go.
So do you have a recommendation about using additional fund balance to make up for the difference in the proposed budget? Or what are our options in that way if the proposed budget fails on the first attempt?
You mean using additional fund balance
to make
if we
up
need
for
to?
the 902,117?
I think that it's always open for discussion. As you know, we talked about it. We're already up to 2.8 million of assigned fund balance. Could we, in a pinch, pull a little more in there? I wouldn't say no, but I would not say we can make up 900,000.
Meaning we don't have the 900,000, or you would not recommend using the 900,000 to make up for that?
So if I could, not to help Harvey out here, but that's kind of like a what-if
Right.
scenario. And I think what Harvey's suggesting is that we have about 3 different options at our disposal. One is to immediately go to a contingency budget. We could do that if we could get to a consensus on that. Or figure out how we're going to re-engage the public with either the same amount on the budget that we currently have approved to go forward with, a lower amount. I don't think we can go to a higher amount if the current amount would fail, but I don't want to get into the what if. What I'd like, Christian, and I appreciate your thought on this, is to understand the timeline if we were to face a failed vote on the 21st.
If it failed on the 21st of May, you have 4 weeks. It's the same, the budget vote is always the third Tuesday in May. The second vote is the third Tuesday in June. So it's really a quick turnaround. It's a rush.
So we'd have 4 weeks to, does that include the notification and all the documents that have
Yes,
to be submitted?
It does.
So that basically gives us maybe a week or
Well,
two?
gives you a little more, but
2 weeks
yeah,
max?
it's very condensed.
Yeah, so hopefully, if we've done our job well this year, we could avoid that possible outcome. But if we were to face it, we'd have 2 weeks with which to iron out some of these what-if scenarios and re-engage, right?
Correct.
Good, thank you, Harvey. Anyone else? Great.
All right, thank you.
Harvey, thank you, good job. Thank you, Harvey. Okay, so that then brings us to our second recognition of visitors. Is there anyone who has some comments that they'd like to share with the board this evening? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of hand and arm signals, but that would mean no. So with that, I'd like a motion to adjourn the meeting, please.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Great. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Good meeting. Thank you, Harvey. Well done.